One America's Pearson Sharp arrived in Syria on April 13th, just hours before the missile strikes were carried out by the U.S., Britain, and France. What you're about to hear in this exclusive interview with a Damascus resident will allow you to decide for yourself what is truly behind the missile attack. Pearson has produced several documentaries, as you know, including the widely viewed White Helmets, and in the days to come, you'll see much more of what he's encountered there on the ground in Syria. Here now is a Pearson Sharp exclusive.
A lot of our viewers probably are not familiar with you or your work. If you could give us like a little introduction about, what you do and why.
I do comedy. I started doing comedies in Arabic, comedy in Arabic in bars and in clubs and stuff like that. Then, the Syrian war started, and I started looking at the news in general, like the mainstream media. I started seeing that everything they're reporting about in Syria is a lie. They have an agenda, they're doing propaganda. So I started looking for other sources to find a source that is saying the real truth about Syria, but I couldn't find. So I was like, I am in Syria, I have a platform, why don't I use it to spread the truth about my country? I was living in Etsaya, and it's a place in West Ghouta, and I would see the mainstream media saying that Assad is throwing rockets and throwing missiles on the civilian people of Etsaya, while I would be sitting in Etsaya and nothing is happening, really. They were saying that when the shooting and the killing started happening, they were saying that these were moderate rebels. And my question to them is, how are these people moderate rebels when they are militant? If you want to be a moderate, you have to be a moderate rebel, to be political, not a militant. As soon as you start holding weapons, you are immediately considered as a terrorist. If these people really wanted to be against the government and stuff, they should have created like a political party and had new policies or new ways, like changing the constitution and all the stuff. But instead, these people were holding weapons and they started killing people. They started shooting the armies. They started entering places and implementing Sharia law on people by force. And this is what exactly they stand for. The media starts telling the people that the people fighting in Syria are moderate rebels. But let me tell you who the people in Syria are. Who are the people fighting? You have ISIS, you have Al-Qaeda, you have Jabhat al-Nusra, you have Jaish al-Islam, you have Faylaq al-Rahman, and all these groups are Islamic Wahhabi terrorist groups. They aren't moderate people. They don't believe in democracy. No, these people want to overthrow Syria's secular government, and they want to implement Sharia law by force on all the people. And to me, as a Syrian, I find this very dangerous, and I'll tell you why. Because Syria has a very multi-religious and ethnic population. We have the Sunnis, we have the Muslim Sunnis, the Muslim Shiites, we have the Alawis, we have the Christians Orthodox, we have the Christians Catholics, we have the Druze, we have the Yazidis, we have the Ismailis, we have other ethnicities like the Kurds, we have the Armenians. So it is very unfair to implement Sharia law on all these people. Syria is a secular government, and a lot of people ask me, what do you mean by secular government? A secular government is a government that treats all its people equally, regardless of their religion and ethnic background. That's why it is very important to fight these terrorists to keep Syria a secular government.
A lot of the perception in the media, especially in the West, is that President Assad is totally against having this kind of open society that you've described, that the different religions, Christians, Druze, Jews, Muslims, they can't live together because Assad won't let them. But just being here, even for a day now, I go outside and there's a church on the corner, and then there's a mosque next to it, and there's another church, and there's priests walking down the street, and everything works. Everyone gets along. They seem to be. Is that? Do you think that's representative of all of Syria? Do you think that's? How is this working under Assad if this is the perception of him?
Let me tell you what Assad is doing and why I support what he is doing. Because Assad, the Syrian government in general, it built a mosque, and near it a church, and near it a bar, and near it a nightclub. And it's telling the Syrian people that you have the freedom to choose the lifestyle you want to live. If you want to be a religious Muslim, you can go to the mosque. You want to be a religious Christian, you can go to the church. You want to be an alcoholic like me and you can go to the bar or nightclub, you know? So the people of Syria have this freedom. And this isn't something that is happening now. This is something that has always been in Syria. If you came to Syria before the war ever started, it has always been the same.
Where does this perception that Assad is so brutal come from? Why has the media or the West or whoever's responsible, why have they targeted Assad?
They want to overthrow him. They want to put someone that they can easily control, that they can tell him what to do, when to do, whenever they want. And Assad is not that kind of person. So that's why they are against him. And the mainstream media has played a very huge role with the propaganda and with the lies about Syria. First of all, they said that what is happening in Syria is a civil war. It's a lie. It's not a civil war. What's happening in Syria is that the Syrian army, which are people that come from every religion and every city and every ethnic background. This is the Syrian army. Syrian army are not all Bashar al-Assad's friends or homies. They come from all the cities and all the religions in Syria, and they're all fighting together, united. They're fighting Islamic extremist terrorist groups. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Jabhat al-Nusra, Ahrar al-Sham, Jaish al-Islam. And these terrorist groups are funded by outsiders. They're funded by Turkey. They're funded by Saudi Arabia. They're funded by Qatar, by America, by England, by France. That's why they are very strong. The reason they are strong is not because they have public support. Nobody in Syria supports these barbarians. But the reason they are strong is because of the endless flow of money and weapons that are always reaching them by outside governments.
Obviously, the breaking story now is this latest missile strike. Yeah. So what is the feeling in Syria about this right now?
Well, the people were terrified yesterday. You know, it's not a very good feeling to know that America, UK, and France, one of the most strongest countries in the world, are striking you. But what really disappointed me and disappointed the Syrian people is that they decided to strike Syria without having any single evidence or without doing any investigation. I'll tell you something. They claim that the chemical attack happened in Douma. And who was the source? Who told them this story? It was the White Helmets. And we both know that the White Helmets is a group funded by the UK and by America. And they have been exposed many times for staging events. And there are videos, you can find them on the internet, of them staging events, faking stories, pretending that something happened, but it's all a lie. You can see them all. These are the people that told the West that a chemical weapon was used. So how can they believe a source that is not credible? You know, how can they do that, you know? And they didn't do any investigation, and they didn't have any evidence. Second of all, Douma, the place that the chemical attack happened, is part of Eastern Ghouta. And Eastern Ghouta, at that time, 90% of Eastern Ghouta was liberated. And when the Syrian army entered the liberated areas of Eastern Ghouta, they found a building that had a chemical lab, a lab that had chlorine and had chemical materials. And the media, the Syrian media, and even the Russian, they were trying to warn the people outside that we found a building that had chemical weapons and that we're using them. And they were trying to tell the people, but your country's mainstream media never reported this. They didn't tell your people that we found, because it was not part of their agenda. They didn't want your people to be educated about this issue. So they kept it a secret. And then after a week, think of it, why would Assad use chemical weapons now after he liberated 90% of Eastern Ghouta without even using chemical weapons? Let's say he wanted to use, but he liberated 90% without using it. Why would he now use it on Douma, which is 10%, which is an area smaller than a scorpion's vagina, you know? Why would he use that? And second of all, let me just finish. Second of all, why would Assad use chemical weapons a couple of days after Donald Trump was saying that America was going to completely leave Syria very soon? It's not for his own interest. Why would he do that action? It is obviously done by Jaish al-Islam, which is an Islamic terrorist group in Eastern Ghouta and Douma. It was used when they saw that they were losing the war and that America was leaving soon. So they tried to use this. So they used chemical weapons to frame Assad, to force Trump to stay in Syria. It is very obvious, but unfortunately, look, I don't blame the people living in America or in Europe for believing the trash the mainstream media is telling them, because they don't live in Syria. They don't know what is really going on, but they should really ask people that are here in Syria, that are seeing this stuff face to face. You know, they shouldn't be believing sources that are not in Syria and have nothing to do in Syria. You know, it's just sad. So we were upset. I was disappointed when Trump attacked Syria, because I personally remember watching the presidential election, and I remember listening to his interviews before he became president. I saw that he was well informed about the situation in Syria. There are clips of Donald Trump saying that America and the Obama administration were funding ISIS. They were sending weapons to Al-Qaeda. He was saying that, so he knows. And when Obama struck us, he was also against it. He tweeted about it, that we should not attack Syria. We should focus on our country. We should focus on America first and all this stuff. So what disappointed me is that what suddenly changed. Who's brainwashing you? Before you became president, you knew the truth. You were talking about the truth about the situation in Syria. Who is pressuring you?
So you're saying that leading up to this time, there was a lot of hope in Syria that Trump would be different, that he would change the situation, and people were excited for that change.
Yes, I'll tell you why. Because we knew that Hillary Clinton, if Hillary Clinton became president, we were 100% sure that Hillary Clinton is going to be a continuation of Obama's destructive foreign policy. Yeah. We knew that for sure. Because Hillary Clinton is like a transgender Obama. You know, it's the same person, but this time with a vagina, you know? So we knew that for sure. But then Trump was saying something different. He was exposing what Obama's administration did and what Hillary Clinton wants to do. So it's not that we trusted him completely, but with Trump we were hopeful. We had more hope with him that things were changing, because he was talking about having a friendly relationship with Russia, which is a very positive thing for the whole world, not just for America, not just for Russia, but also for Syria, and for the whole world, for the stability of the world, because America and Russia are two world powers. It wouldn't do the world good if these two world powers were fighting each other. So Trump was talking about a potential friendly relationship with Russia, which Obama and Hillary Clinton never promised the world. You know, Obama and Hillary Clinton were enemies with Russia, and they never gave us hope that these two countries will one day become friends.
One of the big questions that I have, and I think a lot of people have after this latest strike, is, you know, we had the OPCW in there. Yeah. They've been coming in for the last couple of days, yeah, and they're investigating, and you know, their reports, even if their initial reports are going to be coming out today, tomorrow, you know, any time now. Why do you think that Trump or the administration or whoever, you know, made this decision behind the scenes, why do you think that they didn't even wait for that report to come out?
I was very, very, very surprised. I mean, like, I had diarrhea because of my surprise. But seriously, like, why would you strike Syria before the investigation was complete? Like you said, like they came here and they were investigating the chemical attack. Why didn't you wait for their report to be presented for you to then make a decision? Why did you attack before the investigation was over? This is a question that boggles my mind and boggles a lot of people's mind. I think Donald Trump is being pressured by the people around him. That's what I think. I think if he continues behaving the way he's behaving, then I would tell you that America in general, no matter who the president is, the foreign policy never changes. Look at George Bush, same foreign policy in the Middle East. Look at Obama, same foreign policy in the Middle East. And look at Trump now. It's showing what we're seeing is that it looks like it's the continuation of the same foreign policy. I was really surprised because we heard that Trump stopped funding, you know, there was like a program of sending weapons to, yeah, He stopped funding the ISIS terrorists in Syria. And as you can see, in 1 year, ISIS was almost completely defeated. So what happened? Like, what changed? Who is playing with your mind? Well, these are questions not only me and the Syrian people, but also the American people are asking. Like, what made you change? You know? And like I said, man, look, whether they like it or not, the majority of the Syrian people support Bashar al-Assad. Whether they like to deny it or they like to whatever, the majority of the Syrian people support Assad. So I think America should stop sticking their nose in things that is not their business. You know, do you hear Syrians telling the Americans you should change your president, or you should change your constitution, or you should ban weapons? Or we don't interfere in your country's internal issues. Why are you guys interfering? Now, if you guys were like, look at, for an example, America. Like, her past actions speak louder than their words. Like, we've known that under the Obama administration, America was funding ISIS, and they were sending weapons to Islamic terrorist groups, and they were lying to their people. They were telling them that we're sending weapons to moderate fighters. And the irony is in the word. How can you be a moderate and at the same time be a fighter? You know, if you're a moderate, you would have a political party, a political opposition. You would put new rules, suggest a change in the constitution or whatever. But the people we are fighting are people that want to implement Sharia law in Syria. If ISIS or Al-Qaeda win in Syria, Syria will become an Islamic state like Saudi Arabia. You will start hearing homosexuals being killed in the street. You will start hearing that the penalty for apostasy is death. You will start hearing of women getting stoned to death for committing adultery. All this stuff in Syria, we don't have it. We don't have it. We have people that have the freedom to do whatever they want. If you, like I said, if you want to be a religious Muslim, you can go to the mosque, you can go to the church, you can go to the bar, you can go to the nightclub. It's your decision. You have the freedom to choose the lifestyle you want to live. So, is the Syrian government perfect? Of course not. There is no government in the world that is perfect. There is no government in the world that doesn't have corruption, that doesn't have things that needs to be improved or changed. 100%. But is the solution to strike us? The military bases that America, UK, and France strike are all military bases that the Syrian army uses to strike these jihadists. So the only people that really were happy of this strike are the jihadists, are the ISIS members, are the Al-Qaeda members. And today I saw a video in CNN. They were interviewing a Syrian citizen, and he was telling them, we were so happy that Trump striked us. We were so grateful that he did that. And I call BS. There is nobody in this whole world that will be happy when a foreign country strikes his own country. Only somebody that is not patriotic will be happy, will be celebrating that, oh my God, UK, France, and America are striking us and are bombing us. It's a lie, but CNN, we both know CNN are liars, and they have been proven, exposed a long time ago for being liars and for doing fake news and all that stuff.
I think the question on everybody's mind is, one, how is Syria going to respond to this? What is their next move? And two, what is Russia's response going to be? Because they warned that there was going to be consequences for this. How do you think that Syria is going to respond, and Russia?
I don't think Syria is going to respond to America directly. I think the Syrian government is going to stay focused on liberating the cities. They're not going to respond directly to America. It's not like they're going to attack their military bases, or they're going to, they're not going to do anything. But like I said, if America tried to attack us once again, I think this time Russia will retaliate, because Russia has warned America to not attack Syria, and Syria is an ally to Russia. It's the same thing. Like now, if any country wants to attack Israel, won't America defend Israel? It's the same thing with Russia. If any country attacks Syria, Russia is going to defend, because they're both allies, they're both friends. Russia is thinking of the issue as in a very realistic way, because terrorism, bro, doesn't have any borders. Terrorism doesn't have any borders. Look at Europe for an example. The flow of this refugee to Europe. Look at now what is happening in Germany. You're hearing about terrorist attacks. You're hearing about honor killings now. You're hearing about people trying to force the government to create segregated schools, schools for boys, schools for girls. You're seeing a lot of Islamic extremist people trying to force Sharia law on their people. So Russia knows this. Russia knows if they don't defeat these extremists in Syria, the extremist terrorism is going to reach out to the rest of the world. Because like I said, terrorism doesn't have borders. That's why Russia is helping Syria in fighting Islamic terrorists. It's not because they love Bashar al-Assad's blue eyes, It's because they know if ISIS didn't get defeated in Syria, they're going to expand. They're going to go to Turkey, they're going to go to Europe, they might go to Russia. So this is their interest. Their interest is the security of their area.
Do you think that the West, or whoever we want to hold responsible for this, do you think that they are going to ever let President Assad just be president? Do you think this conflict will ever be over while he is still president? Or is the ultimate goal really to get him out of power?
I think their ultimate goal is to bring him down. I fear that they will not stop. I thought under Trump's administration they would stop, but it looks like maybe they would not. I think they will continue funding terrorists because, listen, it's not like Trump is funding ISIS from his pocket money. He's funding ISIS from your tax dollars. So he's not losing anything. Same with Obama. When he was funding and sending weapons and money to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, he wasn't sending them from his personal bank account. He was sending them from the American tax dollars. So they have nothing to lose. And it's not only America that is funding ISIS. Saudi Arabia is playing a huge role. Turkey, UK, France, Qatar. So it's endless, It's endless. What is happening in Syria, bro, is a World War III. And the World War III between Russia and America, and the battlefield is in Syria.
What is your message tonight for America?
My message to the American people is to stay true to themselves, because I know that the majority of the American people are against war. They don't want their troops to be living abroad. They don't want their troops to always stay in Syria and in Iraq, putting their lives in danger. You have American soldiers coming back without a leg, without a hand, without all this stuff. So I think the American people should wake up and pressure their government, or not pressure, but at least show them that we are against war. We are against us striking Syria. What happened to America first? I know that now America is having a problem with the Mexican border. I have the best solution for you guys. Bring back the American troops that are in Syria and put them in the Mexican-American border. That way, they will keep the border safe from all the mafias and the drug dealers and the smuggling of drugs and stuff like that. That way, they will keep their borders safe, and at the same time, they will be close to their families. They will be in their country. No, do you think any soldier is happy that he's living in Syria now, or is living in Afghanistan or in Iraq? All the American soldiers want to go back to their country. They have done enough, and the American government should consider that stuff. They should bring back their troops to America. Look, the Middle East, let the Syrian government take care of the problem in Syria. America, throughout these 8 years, it has been proven that America has not helped Syria. America was in Syria before Russia was in Syria. When America was in Syria in the Obama days, ISIS was expanding. This is a fact. You can check it out. As soon as the Russian intervention started, ISIS started shrinking. And I'll tell you the difference between the Russian intervention and the American intervention. The Russian intervention, there was invited personally from the Syrian government. The Syrian government asked Russia to intervene and help out in Syria. But the Syrian government didn't ask America to intervene in Syria, and the American government just forced themselves inside Syria. So there is a difference. So I think my message to the American people is for them to wake up, to do their research, to not trust the mainstream media. I mean, just think of it this way. The Democratic Party has been against every single thing Trump has ever stood for. But now suddenly when Trump was wanted to strike and enter another war, suddenly you see the Democrats applauding. Suddenly you see the mainstream media talking about President Trump being presidential. There's something fishy going on. I think they're trying to trap him so that in the next election, you remember Trump attacked Obama for being a warmonger, for being somebody that supports war, and now they trapped him. Now in the next presidential election, they're going to use this against him. They're going to tell him that you were criticizing Hillary Clinton and you were criticizing Obama for attacking America and intervening in the Middle East, and you did the same exact thing. He should wake up and he should be aware of the people around him, because not everybody around him is his friend. Some people might pose to be his friend, but they have an agenda deep inside. It could be the deep state, it could be whoever you want to say, but something very strange suddenly happened in America because because Trump suddenly changed his foreign policy, suddenly changed the way he used to talk, his positions in issues. So it's obvious that somebody's brainwashing him, somebody's playing with his mind, and the mainstream media is not helping in telling the American people the truth. So I advise the American people to follow independent journalists that are in Syria. Like, for an example, Vanessa Bailey, she's doing a great job. Like yourself, you're doing a great job. I really appreciate you coming to Syria so you can see what is happening face to face, not take your information from CNN or from BBC or from the white helmets, which are liars, You're seeing it for yourself. So that's what I advise my American friends to do, to be awoke and to question everything. Don't trust your mainstream media, and that's it. And my name is Treka, and if you want to know more about the situation in Syria, please make sure to follow me on Facebook and on YouTube. My name is Treka, Treka. That'll be all.
Treka, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm reporting here in Damascus with Treka, and we're trying to figure out what the next step is going to be, picking up the pieces after this latest strike. For One American News, I'm Pearson Sharp.